We have so much, and this is where we get the idea of American exceptionalism. This is the reason we are still a beacon to the rest of the world. The rest of the world looks at us and they think, you know what? I would love to be in America. I would love to have the opportunities they have, to have the freedoms they have. We are shining light to the rest of the world because of what we have. Only today we've forgotten that we're as blessed as we are. We've forgotten how we got what we have. And I want to look just for a second at that thought. If we are so blessed, well, what was it that caused us to be blessed? What philosophy produced what we enjoy today? And if you go back to when these guys first wrote the Declaration, they put their philosophy of government in 45 words. The 45 words you guys are familiar with. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. We believe, first of all, that we were created equally. That we all, created in God's image, we have all been created. And so we don't look and say, you know what, you're better than somebody else because of your family, because of your race, because of your creed. We believe we were created equally. But more than that, we believe that we had guaranteed rights, created with inalienable rights. And ultimately, when you look, their concern was that we had lost the freedoms that we were created with. When you look at the Declaration, it was a cry of, you know what, for freedom, for individual rights that we should have, that we deserve as people. We should have these things. And that's why when you look at the rest of the world, you know, China in 1989, they had a group of students that were opposing a communist tyrant. And so this group of students got together this open square, and they actually suffered all kinds of persecution, but they opposed this tyrant. And do you know what they said their inspiration was? The Declaration, because they said, you know what, those guys, they believed that they should have freedoms, and they said, we don't have those freedoms. And so in China, when they began their revolt against communism, it came from the Declaration. You can look at places like the Czech Republic. When the Czechoslovakians, 40 years they've been living under the Soviet dictator, they say, you know what, we don't want this anymore. Their inspiration was a Declaration. In fact, when they elected their first president, he said the Declaration was going to be the foundation they were going to stand on. Because it guaranteed freedom. It guaranteed rights for people because of this philosophy. In fact, you look at Poland. Poland, when they overturned communism, they said the Declaration was our inspiration. Russia, when Russia overturns communism, all these people point to the Declaration because the Declaration was so much about the freedom of men. That we have been created to be free, that we have freedoms, that we have rights, that we have choices. This was such a significant thing. This is one of the leading thoughts that led us to do what we did. Is because of this. That's why when you look at our nation, when we ask the question, you know what made us exceptional? What made us different? There is something that we have to understand about being exceptional and being different. Not everybody in the world is exceptional. And it's not because they can't be, it's because they're not doing something that makes them exceptional. As Americans, we have been exceptional. So, what made us exceptional? Why are we different than every other nation in the world? And I want to point to what I think are three very important things that have made us different than the rest of the world. The first one is hard work. Because when we first came to America, you understand, when the Pilgrims first came, first of all, as they're coming over, brutal journey to get across. Okay, months on a ship, very tight, confined spaces, just tough to make it across the ocean. They get across the ocean, they land with 102 people. So not a whole lot of people to come form the first Plymouth colony, right? Not very many people. They get here, well, they elect a governor, Governor William Bradford. So he's put in charge of these 102 people. So they form the Plymouth colony. Well, hard times if you're the governor, because after the first winter, half of them died. Half of them didn't make it. They went from 102 to less than 50 people the first winter. If that's not tough enough, the second winter, half of the remaining people died. They go from less than 50 to less than 25. So Governor Bradford says, you know what? We've got a major problem. We're not living long enough to enjoy this land. And the reason he noticed they had such a problem is because when they started with a common storehouse system. A common storehouse system is like an early form of socialism. We're going to share and we're going to share alike. Because they came and they said, you know what, we're kind of like a big family. So we're just going to act like a big family. We're going to work together. We're going to share everything together. The problem was, of the 102 people that came across, there was only about 8 strong young men that came across. So when they came across, these 8 strong young men were put in charge of the work. They said, we want you to build the houses. We want you to get the firewood. We want you to plant in the fields. We want you to take care of us. Well, these 8 young guys realized, you know what? This is miserable. And we don't like doing this. In fact, they realize, you know what, we're working for everybody, and everybody's sharing alike, no matter what kind of work they put in. And so they said, you know what, if we're going to share and share alike, then I'm going to let you work. I'm going to take the day off. And so Governor Bradford said they had a problem with people faking sicknesses. He said guys would just, oh man, my stomach hurts. I can't go to work today. My head, my leg is just sore. I don't think I can work today. He said they had a problem because what happened is their system of government encouraged laziness. He said people were being rewarded whether they worked or not. He said, we have to change the way we do things, so he changed their system to individual responsibility. Now, they're down less than 25 people. He's saying, we're not going to make it. We got to try to radically change what we do. So he went to individual responsibility. And he said, all right, everybody, you're going to be responsible in your own little family. If you don't have a family, you're responsible for yourself, but everybody gets their own section of land. And then you are responsible for growing in that section. You're responsible for taking care of your own firewood. You're responsible. And if you can grow, your land, if you can produce and develop, you can enjoy whatever it is you grow. And so if you grow a whole lot, you enjoy a whole lot. If you don't grow anything, you're not going to make it. They shifted to individual responsibility, and it's amazing what happened because those people, less than 25 people are left. You're talking about there's only 2 or 3 strong guys left. But even though they didn't have the strong guys anymore, they were able to produce in abundance because they shifted to a system that said, you know what, everybody's going to work. And when everybody worked, we were much more successful.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. What is the purpose of government? Founding Father Oliver Ellsworth believed he knew. Oliver Ellsworth was a delegate at the convention which formed the Constitution, and later he became the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Concerning the purpose of government, Oliver Ellsworth declared, "The primary objects of government are the peace, order, and prosperity of society." Yet how were these goals to be achieved? Ellsworth explained, "To the promotion of these objects, good morals are essential. Institutions for the promotion of good morals are therefore objects of legislative provision and support, and among these, religious institutions are eminently useful and important." Founding Father Oliver Ellsworth believed government could never reach its goals apart from the help of religious institutions.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
This is what they did. They said, you know what, we're going to teach people to work, and people are going to have to take care of themselves. Well, in fact, you can even look at other things. Like when you look at education, it's amazing the work ethic they used to have in education that we have lost today. In fact, I love looking back at some of their elementary books. This is an elementary spelling book. This is a book that humbles me every time I open it. I need to go back to phonics and learn some things because I don't know what these are. Notice some of these words. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but if you can, I'm impressed. Words I've never heard, especially never seen in a sentence. I don't remember that. This is elementary. I went to college. I graduated. That wasn't in my textbook. I never saw those words. You know what's interesting is we had a different standard of education. Now, what's also interesting, when you look at our education, do you know when you look at things like literacy, we used to be number 1 in the world. Now we're number 68. So we don't put in the work we used to, and we're dumber. I see a pattern. You know what's amazing? Washington came out a couple years ago, and they said they had over 700,000 kids that just graduated that could not even read their own diploma. Why? I was too busy to put in the work. I didn't want to work on my homework. I had too many other things to do. We didn't want to put in work anymore. You can look at things like geography. This is 4th grade geography. You'll notice at the top from Chicago, 1862. Notice some of these 4th grade questions. How many degrees of longitude are there? How many degrees wide are the temperate zones? Name the principal animals of the frigid zones. What portion of the people in the globe are pagans? What portion are Christians? I feel like I'm watching Are You Smarter Than a 5th grader, and I'm failing. I have no clue. 4th grade. Or this is the one that really I'm embarrassed because I loved math. In high school, in college, I was a business major. I liked math. Some of these, elementary, mind you, pretty difficult. Okay, like this one right here. I insured 2/3 of a shop worth $3,600 and 4/5 of a house worth $6,000, paying $126. What was the rate of insurance? That's elementary. Okay, check out this one. How many $50 shares at 8% discount must be given for 23 bonds, $100 each at 2% premium? Elementary. Okay, now, the difference with what I'm about to show you is these are actually things that you could use pen and paper for. Then they had what were called mental math questions. You're not allowed to write anything down. You have to do all this in your head. Look at some of these mental math questions. A boat worth 864, of which 1/8 belonged to A, 1/4 to B, and the rest to C was lost. What loss did he sustain having been insured for $500? Do it in your head. And you're on the clock. Go. That's kind of intense. I don't think I did that in elementary school. Here's one. If 6 men can do a piece of work in 5 days, in what time can they do it if they receive the assistance of 3 additional men when the work is half completed? Now, this is mental math. You have to do elementary, and you have to do this in your head. See, we have a different standard now because we don't want to have to put in the work that we used to put in. The problem is, when you don't put in work, you aren't as exceptional as you could have been. The reason we were so exceptional, the reason we were number one in the world in so many categories for so long is because we put in the work it took to be number one.